Off the Ball on Newstalk 106 to 108.
Keep the text coming in. It's a football show with Owen and Ken. World Soccer Daily was the only national radio show devoted to soccer in North America, consistently ranked among the top 10 sports podcasts downloaded daily on iTunes. However, it's no more after co-host Steve Cohen announced that due to a campaign against him by Liverpool fans, he can no longer continue on the show. Steve joins us now. Thanks very much, Steve, for chatting to us this evening. First of all, the reason this campaign was orchestrated was mainly because of fully because of controversial views you expressed about the Hillsborough disaster, which took its root cause, or the 20th anniversary around April was when things really came to a head. What exactly was it that you said that irked Liverpool supporters so much?
Well, I just said that number one, my comments were actually begun in reference to the fact that it annoyed me that we were, I think, 2.5 or 3 weeks since 23 people in the Ivory Coast had perished in a similar situation to what happened at Hillsborough. And I was wondering, why we paid so little attention to the Ivory Coast situation. But 20 years on, we were being asked for the world to stop for what happened at Hillsborough.
But what was it? What was it that you said had actually happened at Hillsborough?
What did I actually say?
Yeah, well, I mean,
my view and my view stands is that knowing what I know about football fans from that era, I don't mean that anybody went down there with evil in their heart that day, but what I said was that I felt that there was a shared responsibility amongst the police, amongst the FA, amongst the stadium, amongst the city of Sheffield, and yes, I don't think the fans can pretend they weren't there.
Even though the Taylor report into the disaster concluded that the fans bore no responsibility for what had happened.
Okay, so I think that's fantastic, but you know what? I've read the Warren Commission in this country, in America, regarding the assassination of JFK, and I've read the 9/11 Commission put out by the government of the United States regarding the attacks on 9/11. This is simply my opinion, okay? And I'm not alone in the opinion. This subject has just become the third rail of English football, and it's a great shame. It's just a great shame. You can't even have your own opinion. And in this day and age, in what is supposed to be free societies, you can't even have your own opinion about a subject matter. But it's absolutely shocking.
Steve, you were saying, part of what you said was people showing up without a ticket, hell-bent and getting into somewhere they shouldn't be going because they don't have tickets is the root cause of the Hillsborough disaster. Like, you're talking about freedom of speech, which on one hand, especially in America and, worldwide, is an important right that people have. But does that cover the expression of these inflammatory views about a tragedy, views that aren't supported by the facts of the official report into the tragedy?
What's so inflammatory about them? It's simply my opinion.
Well, what's inflammatory about them is...
Are you trying to tell me that on that particular day there was nobody outside those gates trying to get in who didn't have a ticket?
No, there was. There was clearly people...
All I'm saying is those people didn't help the situation. They made it however many worse. Whether it would have been a direct result of less lives lost, I don't know. But I made the point, and I say it still today, regarding this attitude we have about how it's okay to show up at sporting events or like football matches without tickets and expect to get in, and in some cases do whatever we have to do to get in. We wouldn't do it with an airline, we wouldn't do it to the theatre, and we wouldn't do it going to the cinema. Well, so why is a football match okay?
Well, Lord Taylor did say there wasn't an abnormally large number of fans without tickets on this occasion, with one or two exceptions. The police witnesses themselves did not subscribe to this theory. The inflammatory thing, Steve, really about what you're saying is that the Liverpool fans in this case were the victims of an appalling failure of management of the situation, right? And you're saying that they deserve some of the blame for what happened.
Well, you see, there you go. Twist it however you want to twist it. I say, I didn't use the word blame. I used the word shared responsibility. Okay, and let's leave it at that. I've not been ambiguous about what I've said. I've been very straightforward and very clear, and it is simply my opinion, and I'm not asking anybody to agree with me, but it is my opinion.
Can you tell us, Steve?
And I would really love it, and I would really like it, honestly, if you could just respect the fact it's my opinion. I'm not trying to convince you I'm right. If you believe the Taylor report is the gospel truth as it relates to this particular issue, I applaud you. I personally am not of the same thinking.
But Steve, it just seems surprising that you seem surprised by the fact that this has, or do you? I don't know, put words in your mouth. Are you shocked at the anger that this has stirred up among Liverpool supporters?
Well, no. What I'm shocked about, is that there was a concerted boycott of my show. Fair enough, I get that. But usually, a boycott of a show really means that a bunch of individuals will decide not to listen to said show. Quite rightly, probably wouldn't support the sponsors of said show, and they're particularly and completely entitled to do so. But when you try and ratchet things up and you wind it up and you get people to start sending death threats and contacting stepchildren, young girls of 8 and 12, when the anti-Semitism comes out, then the people who started this, the ringleaders of it all, okay, cannot justifiably stand up and go, we didn't have anything to do about it. There had to have been a reasonable expectation that the death threats and the vileness of their campaign, which, by the way, in the end, let me finish, please. In the end, became nothing short of a witch hunt against me, not against my show, but a witch hunt against me personally. And I would love to be able to read some of the emails that I've got, and there are hundreds of them, that call me an effing Jew and a Jew rodent and this, that, and the other, and threats of death and threats of... It was exactly what they knew would happen. And I think the fact that Liverpool Football Club, endorsed, sanctioned, encouraged, and supported the campaign, I think is a bit sad. Well,
I mean, Liverpool Football Club did say that they totally disagreed with your comments, but I mean, and I know that organisers of the campaign have been very keen to distance themselves from any suggestion that they contributed to anti-Semitic abuse, which was directed at yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really brave.
What I'm really curious about here, Steve, is that you knew that you were dealing with a very potentially inflammatory situation. Okay. And you surely must have realised that persisting in saying what you're saying, I mean, it's fine for you to say, I'm entitled to my opinion, I'm entitled to express myself. But when your opinion is about such an emotive issue, and when your opinion is also against all the established facts, I mean, the facts as far as anybody knows, this is the record, then surely you must expect... to get a lot of negative response. I mean, sure, you must have known that you were taking a serious risk with your career by continuing to say that again and again. And I just can't understand what the state of mind was that caused you to keep doing it.
Look, there are people who say that the Holocaust never happened. There are people who say that 9/11... Now, let's just get a few things straight here, shall we? While Hillsborough was a tremendous tragedy, a terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy, certainly for football, certainly for the people of Liverpool, let's not put it in the same sphere as, say, 9/11 or the Holocaust or even the bombing of Lockerbie. And I'm wondering why people can sit there quite openly and say, well, I believe the Holocaust never happened, it's all a bunch of rubbish. And people just go, you know what, you're crazy, and move on.
Well, I mean, and David Irving, I think, went to prison in Austria for saying that. I mean, you can't...
That is Austria.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that nobody. I'm sure nobody could.
Are you suggesting that I should go to prison because I have an opinion?
No, I'm not suggesting anything to source, Steve. But I can suggest that I wouldn't be surprised if advertisers start to pull out. If you were to have a radio show where you were saying, "I don't believe the Holocaust happened," or "I believe 9/11 was a conspiracy," your advertisers in the United States would fairly quickly withdraw their support if you were saying that.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, possibly. You may well be right. But I'm just saying that. In the end, the campaign that they caused, that they created, the campaign, became an absolute witch hunt, and it became a witch hunt with, by the way, interestingly enough, all the threats of death about, as a result of comments that I had made. There seemed a certain irony to it that that they would continue this in the way they did. You know what? What's done is done. It's bridge. You can't cry over spilt milk or whatever. But what's done is done. I'm onto another project. I'm very excited about it, and we're going to try and make it so it's a project where the people who think that it's okay to hound people and contact their stepchildren hopefully will be negated, because I think that's the only way to go about doing it.
Steve Cohen, thanks very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Steve Cohen there, of formerly the co-presenter of World Soccer Daily. There's been a load of people texting in and emailing in this, I should say, even before we had Steve on the show. So I'd imagine we're getting quite a few more. We're going to take a quick break for the time being.